it's Heather here at LARRS, and today we are talking about a brand new animal that we have never talked about before. You guys definitely are going to want to stay tuned for this one, and remember to hit that subscribe button. All right, everyone, this is our brand new friend at the rescue. This is a northern blue-tongued skink. Now, of course, you guys can see the reason why these guys are called blue-tongued skinks is because they literally have a blue tongue. Now, out in the wild, these guys are prey animals like many of the other animals that we take in at the rescue. And so in order to try to avoid getting eaten by a predator, these guys will flick their blue tongue, because a lot of times in nature, that blue tongue or any bright, colorful purple, blue, red, things like that signify poison. And so that is a defense mechanism that these guys use to try to keep other animals away from them. They also have the ability to puff up their lungs with air and make a hissing sound. So they'll gape their mouths, they'll show their pretty blue tongue, and they'll make sort of a hissing sound. So these guys are surprisingly docile reptiles. Now, the northern blue-tongued skink, like our friend here, is actually the largest variety of blue-tongued skink. These guys can get approximately 2 feet long. So not sure if you guys can tell, but this little one is extremely long and a great big wiggle worm. Now, it's very important when you're handling these guys to fully support their entire body. They have the teeniest, tiniest little legs, and so they need a lot of support. They are ground-dwelling animals. They don't try to climb, although this little friend would try to tell you differently, because this one has been trying to climb all over me. So we didn't actually get a sex on our friend when our friend was surrendered, and there is no really good, definite way to tell the sex of a blue-tongued skink unless you take it to a professional. A probe test will not work because the sex organs are arranged in such a way that a probe test really doesn't differentiate between male and female. But what your veterinarian is going to need to do is a pop test in order to verify the sex. Now, this can be very dangerous if you do not go to a herpetological veterinarian. You definitely need to find a good, reputable reptile vet to do a pop test, because you don't want any permanent injury to your animal when you take them to the vet to have them sexed. I want you guys to take a look at these teeny tiny little ears that are kind of set back in the head here. Like a bearded dragon, which is also from Australia, these guys have teeny tiny little ears. They do live on the ground, so the ears are actually in a shape with a thin little membrane, just like a bearded dragon, in order to keep dust and dirt out from the ear. Now, a lot of skinks out there in the world have different care requirements. A northern blue-tongued skink is going to be more similar to a bearded dragon in their care requirements. When you're looking at housing a reptile like this, you want to make sure that you're going to provide an adequately sized enclosure and the ideal environment to take care of a skink like this. A lot of people think that you can keep blue-tongued skinks without a UVB bulb, and I'm here to tell you guys you definitely need a UVB bulb when you're thinking about keeping a blue-tongued skink. These guys are diurnal, which means that they are awake when we are awake, and UVB is critical for their health. So depending on your manufacturer, you're going to go with a 10.0 to a 12% UVB. A lot of different manufacturers classify things differently, but basically you're looking for that desert reptile UVB bulb. Your daytime temperature for these guys is going to be between 90 and 100 degrees in their basking area. Definitely consider getting a basking rock. Now, that is not a hot rock. Don't get a hot rock. It can cause burns, but go ahead, Get yourself a nice flat piece of rock, and then overhead you can put your UVB and your heat lamp for basking. Now, if you can't achieve the temperatures that you're looking to achieve in that basking area, instead of increasing the wattage of the bulb that you're using for your heat lamp, it can be a good idea to use an under tank heater as long as it's on a thermal regulator. At night, a heat mat can actually come in handy because you're going to want to maintain a temperature of between 75 and 85 degrees. So instead of increasing that overhead wattage for a bulb to make it super duper hot, an under tank heater is a really good option. Just make sure to get your thermal regulator set up with that so that you can make sure that the heat mat isn't going to overheat for your skink. So these guys are actually omnivores. So that means that they not only eat protein, but they eat vegetables and they do eat some fruit. Now, obviously, if you've got a very young skink and you're trying to make it big and strong, you're definitely going to be feeding a lot of protein. But once it gets to be adult size, like our little friend here, or not so little friend, you're going to want to change the diet because you're going to want to have no more than 50% protein. And then the other half of that is going to be vegetables with a tiny bit of fruit. Just as with any other reptile, you're going to want to watch the fruit intake because of the sugar content. Food is digested very slowly in a reptile's stomach. So the reason why we keep talking about avoiding fruit with reptiles, their metabolism is so slow, their food sits in their stomach. And what happens when fruit sits in a warm, hot environment? It ends up fermenting. So you definitely don't want to have any fermentation going on the inside of your reptiles. So definitely keep those fruits to a very, very minimum. Now your vegetables, you're going to want to do lots and lots of vegetables. And when we're talking about vegetables, we're talking about the same vegetables that we recommend for a lot of other reptiles. Your really, really dark leafy greens. Bok choy, turnip greens, mustard greens, dandelion greens. Those are all really, really great choices for vegetables for your skink. Try to avoid kale and spinach because of the high oxalates, because it can leach calcium from the bones. You can also feed a lot of other dark vegetables like carrots and some broccoli. Again, watch it with the broccoli because of the high oxalates. You can feed some bell peppers, although for a blue-tongued skink, that tends to be a little bit too acidic. So that would definitely be something that you would want to feed only on an occasional basis. Now in captivity, you can expect a blue-tongued skink to live anywhere between 15 and 20 years. It's going to be a lot higher number if you're taking really, really good care of your animal, making sure that you're getting it its heat and UVB, the proper enclosure, the proper humidity, and also feeding it the right diet. Those are all going to be key to keeping your skink very happy and healthy and getting a really long life. Now in the wild, a lot of people haven't done a lot of research into what lifespan they have because it's kind of hard to track these guys in the wild. They don't actually come right out in the middle of nothing in the daytime. They're usually slinking along rocks or along bushes so that they can get from point A to point B. Fun fact about female blue-tongued skinks. So these guys lay eggs, but they keep their eggs inside of their bodies and they let their eggs mature, and their eggs actually start hatching inside of their bodies, therefore leading a lot of people to believe that they give live birth. Very cool fun fact. Maybe a little bit creepy, but still an awesome fun fact about blue-tongued skinks. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed our video on blue-tongued skinks. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to us either via our Facebook page or via email. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.